second. We're right now setting it up. All right, we are officially live. Let me go ahead and do a quick little intro, and then we'll get the ball rolling with everything. So, guys, my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. As you know, you've seen this show many times before. I work here, Disability Resolution PA, which I've been working at for a total of 8 years. Wonderful, fun, and exciting. I started that law firm. We help mostly anybody actually homeless, those at risk of being homeless, or anybody that has disability questions. And I also started spaceconstitution.com. Spaceconstitution.com is basically the first open source constitution where anybody can write in any freedom or right that they think that they should have in the future going forward. All right. It's a big discussion platform. People on the left, people on the right can go ahead and talk about everything. Now we have our first caller on the phone already. Good sir, what is your fake name for the record?
John.
John. Excellent, John. What is your fake last name?
Doe.
Okay. Complex. That's good. It wasn't like Copenhagen or, some tricky, German / Austrian / Asian phrase. All right, good sir. Can I answer? Yeah. Can I answer a question specific to your claim, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
You could do specific. Oh, no, the hearing questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha. All right, now just give me some background details before we begin. When is your hearing?
My hearing is February 5th.
February 5th. Excellent. Okay, so around the corner. Do you already have an attorney? Do you have a non-legal rep? Have they already run questions with you? What's your, preamp going into this?
I already have an attorney, and unfortunately, I chose a big blocks attorney, and I have had zero prep or anything done except for just watching you on YouTube.
Okay, gotcha. All right, good. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to go ahead and run the hearing questions with you. I'm going to try and trick you up a little bit and go through the details, and then we'll kind of go from there. And hold on, I just have to send a quick text message. Okay, good. All right, perfect. All right, so what we're going to be doing is going through hearing questions, guys. You know what this means. We're going to be going through the basics, a slow pattern, then speeding it up, and then using trick questions. But because a lot of people are already used to that setup, that layout, what I'm going to be doing this time is correcting the claimant as they go along and then challenging them. The judges will often, while the claimant is in there, try to put words in their mouth or rephrase things or give it a little bit of a, change, a modification to go ahead and make it so that the claimant isn't as impaired as they might claim they are. I'm going to play a little bit more of that game today than I normally do. So, good sir, go ahead and state your full fake name for the record.
Is John Doe.
John Doe. Excellent, good sir. How long have you been disabled?
About 3 years.
About 3 years. And what is your alleged onset date?
Is January of 2018.
Now, why do you believe you were severely disabled in January of 2018?
I was unable to perform my job duties any longer. I had struggled for a while, but I was just unable to continue going on.
Well, what does that mean?
Going to work was just a challenge. I was a general manager at a fast food location, and keeping in mind watching my crew, food safety issues, and all of that, along with my my managerial duties, I just couldn't do it all. It was just too difficult.
Ooh, okay, so here's the big thing. You're talking about duties, things that you had to do, things that you specifically were doing that other people may have not been doing. You were a manager, but I don't know what any of those are. So you tell me, what are those things that you used to have to do that you can no longer do?
Doing inventory, moving all the boxes around, lifting the heavy boxes and counting the inventory, being on my feet for 10 hours out of the day with only being able to take a break every so often. And when I say so often, I mean, maybe I was lucky if I could get 10 minutes in every 2 to 3 hours. Constantly having to be in 10 places at one time, balancing my day as far as getting my paperwork done along with watching food safety, keeping control of what was going on with guests to make sure guests were being served. it was just too difficult to walk, to be everywhere at once. I would fall down at work. My legs and feet would just hurt too bad, and my concentration was horrible. I went from being the top score out of 20 in my market to being at the bottom 3 because I was just, for dereliction of duty, I just couldn't keep up with the pace any longer.
At any point throughout that, did you tell me what your impairments were?
No, sir.
Do I have any idea what your impairments are?
No, sir.
If I were the judge sitting at that hearing, is the expectation from the claimant sitting before me that I've read their entire claim, understand it completely, have thought of a brief to write in favor or against? Do you feel like I, the judge, have that knowledge?
No, sir. I basically just skirted around everything and didn't give a direct answer.
Exactly. The first thing that most people have to do with their testimony at the Social Security disability hearing is to go ahead and get their impairments out there. I always like to just kind of put some low-hanging fruit out there for claimants. I say, hey, claimant, what are your top 5 most severe impairments? And then I like to say, what's your most severe physical? What's your most severe mental? Out of your most severe physical and mental, which is the most severe? That helps me create a hierarchy as to what's going on with that person. So, good sir, let's run it again. So, good sir, tell me, when did you stop working?
I stopped working in January of 2018.
Okay. And January, so 1/18, can you tell me, what do you believe your alleged onset date is?
I believe my onset date is probably about 6 months to a year prior to when I made the decision to stop working.
Okay. Well, but you were still able to work, correct?
I was able to work, but not do my full duties. I struggled every day with, as far as from the neuropathy that I suffer from.
Sure.
The diabetic neuropathy in my lower limbs. My feet would go numb. I would fall down at work and at home as well. It would feel like I was walking on like swollen grapes and fire ants all the time.
Mm-hmm.
At times when I would put my foot down on the ground, it felt like a spike or a rod or something would just drive from my foot all the way up to my knee. It made it very difficult, and if there wasn't something to catch myself when I put my foot down, I would just fall right down on the floor. I was a safety hazard to not only myself, but I was endangering everybody else in the drive-in. When it just made it difficult when I had to count inventory, because inventory is such a precious part of running a fast food restaurant, that I would have to go into the freezer to lift these boxes of meat and other items that we use. They weigh 40, 50 pounds. I would struggle getting those. At one point in time, I was struggling so bad to get one that the boxes tipped over on me, and someone had to come get me out of the freezer. There was no way to count inventory without having to adjust and move boxes, so I was just getting lousy inventory counts out. As far as making sure food safety was good and my kitchen team was doing their job correctly, I couldn't really go into the kitchen that often because I never knew when I was going to put my foot down and fall over and possibly push one of them into the grill or myself. That was, from the neuropathy, and then the medications that I take make me so foggy-headed that sometimes I couldn't remember things I was supposed to do, and it was just a downright out safety hazard. I couldn't go the day without taking medication, so I had to take my medications. When I take my medications, I get really tired, and I need to take a nap, just some downtime, because my eyes are so heavy, and my judgment is just not to where it should be.
Okay. You told me a bunch of stories about drive-through, about making sure that the archive of fast food was where it needed to be. Do you think I emotionally connected with any of those?
Probably not.
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was no storytelling part of it. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't imagine you falling. He's talking about falling. I didn't imagine you have to lift things up, getting in people's ways, knocking people over as part of this whole I'm doing my job, but I can't do my job scenario. I would like you to, and we're going to get off topic real quick and go right to the whole storytelling aspect of this. But first, before we go into that, who do you believe, or what's your favorite movie out there?
My goodness, I couldn't tell you. I don't really watch movies because I can't concentrate and follow through them, so I just kind of quit watching them.
Before your impairments, what was your favorite movie?
I liked Blazing Saddles. That was always one of my favorites.
Good movie, excellent movie. Would never go over nowadays, but amazing movie nonetheless. Okay, good. Now, who made that movie?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. What I need you to do is I need you to go look up who the director was. I need you to go look up who the writer was. Because that would essentially tell you who you believe were great storytellers. And those great storytellers, you're going to go watch how they made that film. You're going to watch how they made other films, the types of films that because you're going to connect with their type of storytelling. And you're going to use that to teach yourself from the best storytellers that you know of how to communicate your inability to do physical and mental functioning at your prior job to the judge. Now, before you do that, I'm going to give you another chance here. A redeeming chance, if you will, good sir. A very important one. Would you please tell me a story of how you were unable to do functions at the drive-through area at your old fast food job?
No, are you meaning a story like when I was trying to help do something and it went wrong, or about what's wrong with me, or combine them both?
Well, I mean, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Well, I guess it is, huh? I'm sorry, I took medication, and so my head's a little buzzed.
You're doing fine. No worries.
So a story at the drive-thru where I had an issue, a problem with my medical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had an upset guest asking for the manager one day, and I had to go over to try to defuse this situation. And one of the things that I always prided myself on was excellent customer service. And when I arrived to the window, the lady started just, not being nice and polite and being very rude. And instead of coming back with, "Ma'am, I'm really sorry that we made this mistake. Let me go ahead and remake that for you. This drink's going to be on me." I was in so much pain that I looked at her and I told her, "This isn't Burger King. Leave. I'm not going to remake your drink. You're just being rude, and I don't care if you're going to take your business elsewhere. Go." And I slammed the window in her face and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And then she proceeded to drive around and come inside the building and just throw a huge fit. And I've been through so much training that I know how to handle situations like that. And I've never let one get out of control. But this was really close toward the end of when I decided I couldn't work. I was just in so much pain that I hobbled up there, and I was in so much pain that all of my service skills and whatnot just went out the window, and this person I don't know came out of my body, and it was strange. And everybody was looking at me like, "Wow, John, that's not how you act. You've never done anything like this." And I'm like, wow, I'm just in so much pain. That I guess that's the best I can come up with at the moment.
Okay. That wasn't bad. That was a descriptive story of what was essentially happening at that time. Do you feel that I personally was able to emotionally connect with that?
No. I think you heard it and understood the situation, but you didn't get engrossed in it like when you're watching a movie, like you said for me to watch that movie.
I didn't stop eBaying. I didn't hop off of eBay. May I take a shot at the same story?
Yes, sir. That would be awesome.
Excellent. But before I do that, would you tell me what your top 5 most severe impairments are?
My top 5 most severe impairments are my diabetes, the peripheral vascular disease, the peripheral artery disease, diabetic neuropathy, and the congestive heart failure.
Let's try it again a little bit faster. Good sir, what are your top 5 most severe impairments?
Type 1 diabetes, congestive heart failure, peripheral artery disease, diabetic neuropathy, and peripheral vascular disease.
All right, so a bunch of cardiac impairments, right?
Correct.
Diabetes, we got some sugar problems. What about musculoskeletal? Have you got any limitations of the back and the neck?
Oh, I can't believe I forgot the back. Yes, I have. My back is probably my number 2. I'm sorry, I forgot I had back. I've got some numerous bad discs in my lower and upper and back that make it very, very painful.
Okay. Now, you got upset and had a panic attack and lost it on that lady because you had depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Now we are starting to get our top 5. All right. The way you start out with a story like this is you open with the beginning of the day. Your Honor, I woke up completely unaware of my surroundings. I had chest pain and back pain, and they both felt like they were burning through my body. When I made it to work, I knew something wasn't right. It had been getting worse and worse and worse through the days, but here I was, and I had to make $1. I had a customer, and I always treat customers perfectly well. I've been trained, I'm knowledgeable, and I'm good at my job. I've done it for so many years. This customer, she had a problem. Many of them do. Many of them are dealt with easily, but this one was more aggressive than usual. Then it began. I started to feel this festering. I started to sweat a little bit. I could feel that pain pumping and pumping in my chest. And all of a sudden, I didn't handle myself the best way. And that's when I knew everything was going downhill. That's when I lost control over the person I knew that I actually was and am and want to be. But I'm not that person anymore. The person that I was that day screamed at the lady, told her to take her business elsewhere, slammed the door in her face, and didn't care. When she came back into the store, I was horrified. I had never been trained for this situation because I had never put myself in this situation before. She was right. Over and over and over again, she was right because I acted inappropriately. And that's when I realized I couldn't control myself anymore. And as a manager, I have to. There's so many key elements to leading people. I don't have any of them anymore. I've lost my entire skill set in that aspect. She won. She got me in trouble. And that ultimately led to my downfall and my termination from the job. All right, so good sir, what was the difference between my version and your version?
Wow, connected. I felt like I was there. You really put that together very well.
Thank you, good sir. I tried to be you, and I think
Wow.
But with that said, what was different? What happened with my speech? Why was that a better story?
You said it with empathy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it drew me in to actually listen, and it really made me think that I was standing right there when this whole situation happened. I was, but it was like an instant replay in my mind. I could picture what was going on. I pictured her throwing that soda at me. It was
So did she throw the soda at you?
Oh, yes.
What do you remember most about the soda being on you?
About the soda being on me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, the soda hit me. I got wet, and I was like, that just pushed me farther into get the hell out of here. I don't know if I should say it like that, but that's pretty much what it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But what did it feel like?
Yeah. It's humiliating, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because at that point, when I'm standing there and I've got that soda dripping all over me, even though I was really in pain and upset, that lady had every right to be as upset. And then I've got my entire crew sitting there looking at me like, what just happened? He did not just do that.
Mm-hmm.
that's not him. He never acts like that. He's usually out there with his nose and head so far up their rear end,
Mm-hmm.
that, normally I would always walk away best buddies, shaking hands, fist bumping, and laughing with him.
But what did it feel like? Like in that moment, when it hit your skin, what did it feel like?
Failure.
Was it cold? Was it hot? Was it sticky?
It was cold. I was cold, wet, and sticky.
Okay. All right. I'd like for you to now, as a storytelling aspect of this, to tell me the exact moment it all unfolded where she threw the drink on you. Give me a minute before, what happened, and a couple of minutes after. Walk me through it.
She pulled around, came in the door, and she was raged, upset and yelling, and I was in just utter shock that she had came into the door. I never experienced anything like that in my 20 years doing this. I walked towards the door, and I was really nervous, scared, and afraid, and I was in pain. And she just started, being very upset. I can't remember what she said. And then I told her just to get out. And she threw her soda at me. It hit me in the chest. I got drenched wet. And I remember standing there thinking, wow, did this just really happen? My entire crew was just in as much shock as I was. The lady was just, the look on her face was probably worse than the look on my face. I think she felt, wow, this really happened. And I felt very disappointed that I allowed something for that to happen, because with all my training and everything, I knew that everything I had done was wrong. But I couldn't stop it because mentally I was just thinking I just want to be at home laying down on a heating pad with my feet up and didn't care about anything else except for that.
Okay. Do you feel that was something that the judge would understand? That feeling, sitting there every day watching people tell the judge, him or her, a story about their life being terrible?
No, I think he was probably thinking, okay, hurry up and finish so we can get to the next question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not a good storyteller.
Okay. All right.
Well, I will watch Blazing Saddles and work on that for sure.
Okay, good. Work on that. Let's go back to those top 5 impairments. Let's work on that. What are your top 5 most severe impairments? And remember, you've got a lot of categories. You've got mental, cardiac, musculoskeletal. You've got blood-related, diabetes. Give me a category per each, but tell me the most severe impairment from each of those categories as your top 5 most severe impairments.
Okay, my top 5 most severe impairments are the bad discs that I have in my back, the diabetes neuropathy, the peripheral vascular disease, peripheral artery disease, and the coronary artery disease.
Okay. Okay. Now, what about the depression, anxiety, panic attacks? Tell me more about the mental side of things. What are we looking at there?
I don't think I have depression, but I've been told that I do. I always try to look out with a positive outlook on life every single day, no matter how I feel. But going from working hard my entire life to sitting around mooching off my mother on a daily basis while I'm trying, because all my savings, everything is gone. It's pretty depressing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's talk about when you realized you had depression, because I already know that and you've been watching videos pertaining to your physical impairments. That's why you labeled so many physical impairments right up front and so many cardiac impairments in the same top 5. Can you tell me this?
Sure.
What do you feel your top 5 most severe mental impairments?
depression and anxiety, memory loss,
Mhm.
cranky and bitchy all the time, and that's just not who I am. I'm a very happy individual, but I'm just cranky and bitchy. And I've been getting to be a negative Nelly where I've always been so positive my entire life.
Okay. So we've got to sit now. How's your memory? Let me get that out there, because usually, diabetic people, their memory goes to hell. How's your memory?
My memory is zero.
Okay. And then that's also due to the cardiac issues, lack of blood flow, obviously, to the brain. Brain's not functioning at the high level. Usually what I see is the short-term memory goes and then the long-term memory. How's your short-term memory?
It's zero. I have no short-term memory whatsoever. You can tell me something and 20 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, really? I live with my mother and my sister gets really, really frustrated with me because she'll tell me something, I'll ask her a question, and then I'll ask her the same question an hour later, and she'll answer it, then I'll ask her the same question again, and she'll be like, how many times are you going to ask me this question?
Mm-hmm. How's your long-term memory?
I can remember stuff that happened a long time ago very well, but as far as what I did throughout, if you were to ask, what did you do today at noon? I would have to think about it, and I'm probably not going to tell you what I did. Ask me what I had for lunch, and I don't know. I have issues with my my diabetes doctor. I can't even think of what you call them now. The lady who takes care of my insulin pump.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm fixated. I'm trying to remember what doctor she is. But anyhow, she will ask me when I get on the phone with her, well, what'd you have for lunch yesterday that made your blood sugar spike so, off? And I can't remember. I honestly cannot. And that was an issue that I was having at work, that my supervisor used to get just literally flipping with me because I forget stuff. And then he'd come in and be even more flippant when he'd come to my desk area, and there'd be 500 Post-it notes everywhere. Mm-hmm. Alexa is my best friend these days. Mm-hmm. Ooh, Alexa off.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
There you go.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. I have Echo Dots throughout the entire house because when I need to remember something like a doctor's appointment and things like that, the first thing I do is I tell her. And then I check reminders throughout the entire day. When I cook, I set timers. I have a watch, and I tell my watch Siri, set timer for 8 minutes. And then I have the Alexa set timer for 12 minutes so I can remember what's going on.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, I want to do one thing, too, which is normally I go through a bunch of questions, and then I'll ask the person at the very end, what did they learn? I don't feel that that's as effective as asking in like quarters or halves or whatever. What have you learned so far from us doing this?
So far, I learned that I need to work on my top 5 impairments, and I need to learn how to be more descriptive and bring you into what I'm saying instead of just sounding like a dull person. I need to get you interacted into what I'm saying so that I don't lose the judge's attention so he's not thinking about lunch instead of paying attention to what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Talk to me about sleep cycle. How's your sleep cycle?
My sleep cycle is horrible. I wake up at least throughout the night all the time to go to the bathroom because I'm in pain and I can't fall back asleep. I take sleep medication to help me sleep, and that'll knock me out for about an hour or two, but I always wake up in pain. Mm-hmm. Having to shift, having to move, having to get up and go to the restroom, and that doesn't help because once my eyes pop open, I don't fall right back asleep. I'm up and then I'm shifting around here or there, trying to find that good position to where I can deal with the pain so I can go to sleep.
Okay. Now, I want you to imagine you're getting ready to go to sleep. I'm thinking as a judge, this person can fall asleep and wake up and go back to work. Why can't you go to work based upon your sleep?
Because I don't get a good night's sleep, so I will be tired throughout the day. When I do fall asleep, I don't hear alarms. So if I had a rough night, which I have those very often, tossing and turning with my aches and pains and whatnot, that when alarms do go off, I don't hear them. So I'm not going to be to work on time. And then I always have issues with my diabetes at night. I don't recognize lows, so I'll wake up in a low, shaking and sick, and I've got to take care of that. And there's no way that I could obligate myself to say I will be there every morning at 9. I could be there at 9, or I could be there at 11, or I could not be there at all. I don't know. It just depends on what happened throughout the night.
Okay. How do your impairments limit your ability to sleep?
They keep me awake because of the pain. My mind won't let me go to sleep because it's focused on the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly shifting around, rolling over, doing this, doing that, turning on a heating pad, having to get up and get the cream that I have to put on my legs and to put on my back.
Mm-hmm.
I put lidocaine on those throughout the night to help where I could sleep. So it's like a full-time job while I'm trying to sleep as well.
Okay. You wake up, and then what happens?
Usually I wake up, and if I'm able to get up right away, I'll get up right away. If I'm not, I will take a pain medication if it's time to take one, and I will put cream on my back, sit on the heating pad, and just wait until my body says, okay, you're at a pain level that's manageable for you to be able to get up and out of the bed and try to function.
What I'm really getting at is, okay, I get that. You take your time, but what do? Do you go do hobbies? Do you go out and play soccer? Do you go to another job? Or do you have difficulty putting clothing on, such as buttoning buttons, zippering zippers, tying shoes?
I have all my shoes, if I'm able to wear them, are slip-ons, but it's normally slippers because shoes hurt my feet too much. So I wear loose-fitting slippers. And I will get dressed and get up and go try to interact with my mother and my sister. I'll go sit down in a recliner, and then I usually can sit there for a few minutes, and then I'll get up and adjust. I'll adjust around. I'll get up and move to the couch, and then I'll move from the couch back to the recliner, and then I'll move to a kitchen chair to try to sit in that. And I'm just constantly up and moving around, trying to find a position to where I can rest and let my body feel hopefully a little bit better.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is a lot of phrasing that is not directly connecting me to your impairments. Let's try another thing. Let's try another way to look at this. So let's say, right, you're at work. What was the hardest thing for you to do at work right at the end before you left?
The hardest thing to do at work before I left was cashing out and walking to my car.
Why?
It was hard cashing out because I had to count the safe down and any car hops that I had that needed to be counted cash out, and I couldn't focus because I was in so much pain. My legs and feet just felt like they were going to pop. My back felt like it was going to explode, but yet I still had these tasks to get done. So I would attempt to get them done, and then focusing on how much money that they had and whatnot, I ended up showing them how to do it. So that would be one less thing I could do because I was incapable of doing it on some days. And it was more days I was incapable of doing it than I was capable of doing a proper cash count.
Tell me about the people who were lying for you, who were covering for you and doing the things you couldn't do. So they were helping you out because they liked you.
My first and second assistant manager would constantly try to cover for me. My supervisor would call and ask to speak, hey, can you put John on the phone? And, he went to the bank. Well, how did he go to the bank? Today's Sunday. The bank's not open. And they would get caught trying to cover for me when I would be laying down in the back. and unable to come to the phone, or if I wasn't there at all, if I snuck away to go to the doctor because I had issues with my employer about going to the doctor so much, even though I had FMLA coverage. He would call, and hey, where's John? Oh, he's busy on the drive-through. When in actuality, my supervisor was sitting in the car and could see I wasn't on drive-through, and I'd be at the doctor. I was always due in the morning. My opening manager, when he would call and ask for me, my opening manager would always, again, he's too busy, can't come to the phone. And then they would call me at home and tell me on my cell phone. So I could call him back within a quick time and then lie to him and tell him, yes, I'm there. And I would get caught all the time because he would hear the background noise wasn't there. Or he'd say, okay, I don't want to say her name, put Mary on the phone. Oh, well, Mary's too busy to come to the phone. Well, if there's two managers there, you can set the phone down and go take care of what she's doing and ask her to come to the phone. And things along those lines. I had trained them to do my paperwork so I wouldn't have to do a lot of my paperwork because I couldn't add the numbers up. I couldn't work those Excel spreadsheets any longer. It was just, I couldn't focus. I trained my assistant managers to do my entire job, which ultimately was great for them, but it ultimately led to my downfall when he found out that I was basically not doing my job and I had my assistants doing my job.
When did you start to train the other people how to do your job?
About a year to a year and a half prior to my departure.
Okay. All right. Tell me this. What kind of jobs did you try to obtain after that?
When I left that job, I went and got hired immediately at another fast food place as a general manager trainee. That lasted about 3 to 4 weeks before it was very obvious that I could not do the job because there was nobody to cover for me. I couldn't take constant breaks like I need. I could not sit down when I needed to. I actually had to be up on my feet working for 10 hours a day. That was not happening. I had a panic attack, I guess you want to describe at work one day, just over having to count inventory because the manager was trying to train me, was trying to teach me how to count the inventory their way. I went flush. I sweat. I thought I was having a heart attack or something. I fell down, and the manager that was training me said, you need to leave and go to a doctor right now. I left. I went home and rested because I knew the doctor, there was no sense in going to a doctor. I left, went home, rested, did what I had to do, went back to work. And then when I got back to work, the district manager was there and said, I just don't think this is working out. So I was let go. I was still being stubborn. I immediately left there. I went to another fast food establishment, and I was able to make it there. The same circumstances, what I'm telling you now, what happened at the previous job. I was able to stick it out there for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then that's when I knew I could no longer do my work. So I went home. I got let go from there as well, and I filed for disability. And then I was still stubborn, and I went to a retail organization to get and I got hired on to be a kind of like a door checker type thing. It was on the Strip in Las Vegas at CVS, and it was so busy they had somebody that would stand there and tell you, okay, register 2 is open, register 3 is open, and they hired me to do that position. And during orientation, when I found out exactly what I was going to have to do, and I was shifting around in my chair and standing up so much, and then I stumbled. The lady who was giving me orientation asked me what was wrong, and I told her all about my issues. I wasn't going to lie to her. And she said she just didn't think this was going to be a good fit. So I was let go from that position, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to drive for a Lyft. I'll be my own boss and everything. I did that for a short time, but driving is something I really can't do because of the pain in my legs, the concentration, and it was dangerous for her to be on the roads. I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I damn near killed myself and the passenger in my car, so I gave that up, and here I am.
Okay. So let me ask you this. After going through these questions, What do you feel is the most important thing that you need to work on in order to have a successful hearing?
Learning how to engage the judge guy into what I'm saying and not bore him.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Are you going to try and get your attorney to run questions with you? You should, in the upcoming weeks before your hearing.
Walter, I have attempted numerous times
Yeah.
to call and ask them. They told me to prepare myself for a call that will come a day to 2 days before my hearing and to set aside about 5 to 10 minutes. And I about flipped out, and that's when I reached out to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. The toughest question you're going to run into is why can't you do the work you once did? So work specifically hard on that one. Medications, I'm assuming, how many medications are you currently taking?
I take roughly 20.
Okay. All right. So I need you to make a list of your medications, what they're for, and the side effects that you have from each. Make sure that you come out with many of them during the hearing to explain the limitations you have. The other thing you haven't really talked about is your ability to do actions above your head with your arms, bilateral hand movement and arm movement above your shoulders. So like reaching up above your head. Can you tell me, why do you have difficulty reaching up above your head?
It hurts my lower back, and I tend to lose balance, and it just, reaching above my head, it hurts. It's like I can feel a pull, like a rubber band pull in my back, mainly in my lower back.
Okay. All right. All right. So there's a bit of work to be done. The first thing I'd like you to work on is your top 5 most severe impairments and sitting and just thinking about what they mean to you. And specifically, the thing I'm worried about when it comes to you is being able to explain in detail how they limit you. And you need to have one good story. And we already know which good story that's going to be. That's where the lady threw the soda on you. But you're going to have to show to that judge and prove to that judge essentially that when that happened, that was the turning point. Now, with that said, has your attorney contacted you about what your alleged onset date should be for this claim?
No.
Okay. So your alleged onset date is one of the most important aspects of this claim. It's the date that you are claiming you became severely impaired under the rules of the Social Security Administration. Without knowing, I mean, do you know what the alleged onset date currently is on your claim?
I have no idea. I called the attorney after I texted with you the other day.
Okay.
And I asked him that, and I did not get a direct answer.
Okay. So what you need, all right, so write this down. They can log into the ERE folder and see specifically what your alleged onset date is, along with your, protective filing date, when the last, went into your system and pulled documents and blah, blah, blah. They can see that stuff. So the bottom line here is you need to find out what your alleged onset date is going to be, and you need to be able to link that to a medical facility or something that happened to show why this date is valid. Can you tell me what date do you believe you became severely disabled?
Let's see, my last day at my regular full-time job was a year prior to my filing. I would go back maybe 9 months prior to that. That's when the card started falling apart.
What medical evidence do you have to prove that you were severely impaired at that point?
It would just be doctor records. I had the FMLA paperwork. I got FMLA paperwork so that I was able to, you know what that's for, so I could leave work, take extra breaks, and all that fun stuff without getting in trouble any longer. I got that about a year prior to not working there any longer.
Okay. So is that definitive medical evidence that you have a severe impairment?
I would say so. They just don't hand those out like candy.
Okay. So here's the
I would
reality.
say that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, so that would not actually be definitive evidence that you're severely impaired. Did you do any surgeries? Did you go ahead and, were you Baker acted? Were you in for mental review? Was there a cardiovascular issue? What happened medically that was a good time when you were unable to function?
About the time when they did those, when the doctor was running tests going into my wrist, and then they did another one to my thigh, going through looking at all my arteries and all of that. And that was probably about a year prior.
Okay. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out essentially when you became medically severely impaired, because that's ultimately what's going to be a realistic shot at proving that you became severely disabled. And the reason why you need this is that, and hopefully, and your attorney probably won't because, it's a big box thing, but hopefully they will. They'll argue based upon that was the moment in time when the medical evidence shows that you had reached severity to the point that you meet, equal, or exceed or should be given a vocational allowance. Now, how old are you currently?
52 and almost 52 and a half, roughly.
Okay. So you're going to be shooting for a gritting. So do you want me to give you some really, really good advice?
All the advice you've given me has been really good, but if you said it, yes, I want it.
Yes, good sir. So my advice is this. You have obviously retroactive benefits available. Those are the benefits you can claim before your protective filing date. You can basically go back 17 months from your protective filing date, but you should not go back more than when you turned 50. I mean, you can do the day before 50, but you should not go back more than the day before you turned 50. And the reason why is you're losing the ability of the judge to potentially grid you out. And that's important.
Oh, okay. I watched your grading video.
Yeah. So that's important, good sir. I would give the judge, and what you're essentially offering here, and I haven't seen your medical evidence, but you're offering a vocational allowance, you're offering a grid out, and hopefully your medical evidence is around then, which means you could potentially look at a situation where you have a listing allowance.
Okay.
All right. So good sir, do you have any more questions for me before I pop over to the next caller?
No, I don't. I want to thank you so much for your time, Walter, and I appreciate everything that you've helped me with and everybody else out there that you helped. You don't know what it means to all of us.
Absolutely, good sir. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I will catch up with you. And any additional questions, don't be afraid to call, okay?
I will, Walter, and thank you, and you have a blessed night, and thank you for all your help.
You as well. Have a blessed night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, so that was a really good call. That is a classic scenario that I see a lot. And what happens is this. Basically, we'll get an individual who has zero training on what to do because of a big box firm. And they won't be able to connect with their attorney. And if you guys don't know what a big box firm is, some of you do, some of you don't. It's just basically one of those giant law firms that has an office here, and then some mega office somewhere. It's a big box firm, And the bottom line is that they don't tend to train the claimants. Oh, I'm getting another call right now. 1 second. Hi, hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. I'm live right now on YouTube. Are you ready to go ahead and be live on YouTube? Perfect. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put us onto speaker mode. Excellent. Now, good sir, for the record, what is going to be your fake name?
Heath Ledger.
God, I love that. That's a great name. A great actor, and probably one of the best actors I've ever seen. Okay, so good sir, let me ask you this. Would you like me to answer a specific question about a claim, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
I was not prepared for that question.
That's okay. Do you want me to do you have a hearing coming up, or is it just like you're just wondering how something works?
Well, I'm on my initial application,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not due for a hearing, but I'm ready to take it to that level if it goes there. So okay. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, I'll prep you for the hearing stuff, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the stuff related to the initial filing. But all right, good sir, walk me through the. And now let me ask you this: do you have an attorney? Do you have a legal advocate, or do you have nobody representing you?
I have nobody representing me at this time.
Okay, cool. Let's run the hearing questions. That kind of tells me is if there's any prep, things like that. Good sir, walk me through why do you feel that you are severely impaired?
Yes, sir. My ability to cope with the general public has deteriorated in a way where I can't even interact with my friends or family. I have severe panic disorder where I will have panic attacks about very illogical phobias that I'm aware do not make sense, but I have no control over. That has landed me in the ER or at the doctor's or in the hospital many, many times. And I have to live, I've constructed an environment around me that is very selective and controlled because I have to live that way in order to avoid going in or triggering these panic attacks that would cause me to go to the doctors or end up in the ER, etc. So it's made interacting with people, with family, with friends, and coworkers when I did work near impossible.
Okay. All right. What are your top 5 most severe impairments?
My top 5 most severe mental impairments would be severe generalized anxiety disorder or panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder, PTSD, and depression. I also have somatic syndrome disorder and Tourette's disorder.
Okay, now for people online, explain the somatic disorder because they're not going to know about the whole mind thing. Explain the Tourette's disorder. Some people know what that is, some don't. The other ones they should know. But good, sir, describe those 2 impairments for them.
Absolutely. So somatic symptom disorder is the best way I can describe it is your body is almost like a check engine light constantly going off, sending false signals and false alarms to you. And you feel real pain. Like I can get like pain in my stomach or pain in areas of my body that I feel real pain. But, if you put me under an MRI or do a CAT scan, you find nothing there, or there's no rhyme or reason for what I'm feeling. So it's almost like as if your body is a car with a check engine light going off, except there's no code being thrown. There's no reason for it. Your body will just send these false signals.
So let's assume they don't own a Corvette. What would yeah, so to summarize and help me out, maybe to summarize, would a correct definition be that your brain creates the impairment when there's not actually a problem?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So the check engine light. I love that. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I was working on a Chevy truck today, a 1959 Chevy short bed, and man, that thing doesn't even have a check engine light. Okay, good. All right, so now, the Tourette's. Walk me through that. A lot of people are not going to know what that is. Good, sir.
So Tourette's syndrome is similar to somatic syndrome disorder in the sense that my brain will create functions out of my control that negatively impacts my quality of life. A lot of people have the misunderstanding that Tourette's syndrome is purely like in the movies or commercials where you can curse or say certain words uncontrollably, which is part of Tourette's syndrome. But there's another aspect to it known as tics, and tics can range from anything from rubbing my neck.
Okay. All right. Look.
Kicking my leg out, or erratic movements. Think of it as like lightning or electricity leaving your body randomly, sporadically, uncontrollably, and you just have these tics or movements that you have no control over.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this. Out of all of those, which is your most severe impairment?
My most severe impairment is generalized anxiety disorder or panic disorder because it compounds. In other words, one panic attack will lead to another panic attack, and it's a vicious cycle.
Current age, and when was the last time you worked?
current age is 24 years old. The last time I worked was March 9th of 2019.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened with your jobs? Where did you used to work? Where did you work before the impairment? And then what are you doing now that you're not working?
So, okay, so let me answer that in order. So what I've done for my past work is I used to do a lot of warehouse work, physical labor. I had to shy away from that due to some orthopedic issues, and my most recent job was working at a gas station as a field attendant or a clerk, where I was by myself in a little kiosk outdoors because I couldn't work in the actual grocery store because I had a very hard time interacting with people. That I found it easier to be outside, I guess isolated at the kiosk as the field attendant. And my job basically, I would compare it to almost like bird watching or people watching because you didn't really do much. I just kind of, I rang people up whenever they would come up, which was rare. But for the most part, it was just monitoring the pumps, ensuring that things were running smoothly and, collecting payments and helping customers when needed.
Okay. A straightforward job, right?
Yes.
So why didn't it work out?
So unfortunately, it didn't work out because of my generalized anxiety disorder, and OCD became too much to handle. For example, anytime that I accepted payment from a customer, I would, put the money in the drawer, hand them the receipt, and then immediately rush to the back to wash my hands because of my OCD. Anytime I touch physical money, I feel compelled, uncontrollably compelled to wash my hands after. The problem with this is, well, if it's just one customer, it's no big deal. But if you're doing it every time and you have customers lining up, next thing you know, you're back and forth washing your hands, and you have a line of like 10 people. And every time you accept cash, my OCD causes me to go wash my hands. And so on days where it was busy, I kept having to run to the back to wash my hands every time I would check somebody out.
Okay.
And as far as the anxiety disorder goes, it became a problem because I had a few panic attacks where gas was spilled, on the floor, and those fumes traveled to the kiosk, and I inhaled those fumes, and it caused me to have such a panic attack from inhaling those fumes. I know it's illogical, like people smell gas all the time, and it's not going to kill you, but it caused me to have such a panic attack that I had to leave work and go to the ER to get checked out because I was, terrified that, I had inhaled a toxic level of gas fumes because of my anxiety that it was going to, harm me in a serious manner. And this has happened multiple times. And so because of that, I eventually had to leave the job because I just wasn't able to do my daily functions without having either a panic attack or causing some kind of problem with my OCD by holding up the line or jamming people up when they're trying to get in and get out.
How many panic attacks do you have a month?
It ranges, but I would say it's probably in the 15 to maybe 20 range a month, depending on what environment I'm exposed to. So if I'm outside the house more, that equates to more panic attacks. But if I stay inside the house and I, stay within, like I said, a specific environment that I function well in, it lowers it down to maybe 10 to 15 panic attacks per month. So it's dependent on the environment.
If you had one story to describe how your impairments limited your ability to function at work, would you use that story about the inhalation of fumes?
I believe so. And big reason I would use that story is because my manager at the time was actually witness to that panic attack happening because I had to leave work. And so I had to go to my manager and tell him why I felt that I needed to go work, or why I needed to leave work. I explained to him the panic attack I was having.
Okay.
And then I also had to, get him to sign off on that so that, the company would pay for me to go see the doctor because it was considered a work-related exposure or injury. So they wouldn't let me use my personal health insurance. They basically said, we have to document this. We have to run it through our people because it was on company time, company property.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about that real quick. You get one shot to explain to the judge an emotional story which they can connect with to make you seem humanistic among the great ocean's worth of claimants they interact with on a weekly basis. How are you going to explain this story to me so that I connect with it? Go ahead.
Okay, so on the day that I had to stop working, I arrived to work, punched in, went to my position, and began the day by going through my daily duties to ensure, a smooth shift. And on this day, usually, things. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering.
Okay. Go ahead and start again.
Okay. On this day, usually things run smoothly and it's the same day repeated. Unfortunately, this day was quite different. A customer had been filling their gas tank at the gas station and mistakenly spilled gas all over the floor of the gas station. And it was a significant amount of gas that it actually created fumes that rose up and where I was entered the kiosk and I could smell gas. Mm-hmm. And most people wouldn't think anything of that. People smell gas all the time, no big deal. I unfortunately have such a severe panic disorder that by inhaling those fumes, I felt, as irrational as it is, and as crazy as it sounds, I felt I was actually going to die. I felt that I had just been poisoned, almost like you just inhaled some kind of, bleach and ammonia mixture. That's the amount of panic that I felt in that moment. And I tried very hard to control myself and calm myself to continue my duties at work. And unfortunately, I snapped and I closed down the gas station. I called my manager, frantic, panicking, almost like I was about to die. I felt like my throat was closing up. My lungs felt like they were burning. All of this was just like a severe panic attack. But I truly felt in that moment that I was about to die. Called my manager, explained the situation to him, begged him to let me go to the hospital because I felt that I was going to die. He tried to calm me down, tell me, no, those gas fumes aren't going to kill you. Just finish your shift. Just, you'll be fine. And I basically told him, I was like, look, either you let me, you sign off for me to go to the hospital, or I'm just going to go because I feel like my life is in danger. It felt like a fight or flight moment. I could feel that amount of panic. And so I ended up leaving work that day, closing down the gas station. And, this caused a big disruption because it pissed off the customers. It pissed off my managers. I basically closed shop, over a panic attack. Went to the ER where they checked me out and, told me I was fine. And then at that point I was able to calm down. But unfortunately, when I returned to work, it caused such a commotion and such a, disruption of the daily activities there that my manager basically told me, just go home because we can't have you in the store when you're like this. You can't be manic and have these panic attacks, around the customers because it's causing a big problem for the business.
How many minutes did it take you to tell that story?
I would say 10 to 15.
Can you summarize that entire story in one sentence for me?
One sentence. Okay. On the day that I realized I could no longer work. I caught a whiff of some gasoline fumes that caused me to go in such a severe panic attack and mania and psychosis that I actually forcibly left my job that day to go to the hospital because I felt that I was truly in danger and that I was about to die from inhaling those gas fumes.
Okay. So you told me everything I needed to know. How much time do you think you should, in a hearing where you only get around 15 to tops 30 minutes to basically get everything out there that you need to with every impairment and all your limitations, how much time do you think you should spend on this story?
No more than 1 to 2 minutes.
I would say 3 minutes at the absolute most. I want you to now give me a fact sentence, but I want you to build it up with some flowers and build it into 3 sentences. I want you to make me believe that you are a unique human being experiencing something that other people before this judge who might have the same impairments do not have them as severe as you do. Tell me the story, make me believe.
Okay. So I arrived to work that day, and a customer had spilled gasoline on the floor, which caused gas fumes to arise and blow towards the kiosk that I was sitting in at work. And I had inhaled those fumes, and I sat there trying to tell myself, you're fine, you're just having anxiety. But at the same time, I felt like I was truly going to die from inhaling those fumes, as if I just inhaled poison. And it's something I struggle with every day with normal actions. I can, if I just touch currency or money that is dirty, I get anxiety that the germs are going to, cause an infection. I'm afraid to touch my face or touch any part of my body because I'm afraid of, getting an infection in my eye or anything. It's these irrational fears that run through my head that cause me to go into like a psychosis or a pure mania state where nothing I think is logical and nothing makes sense, to the point where I can't even communicate to another human being.
Okay. May I try?
Yes, sir. I know I'm doing a bad job.
No. Whoa. The entire channel, Disability Resolution, the entire YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, whatever all those other ones are, the entire channel is built on the premise of people get to try things out. If you were meant to be perfect at this, you would have been too afraid to call in. This whole channel is about being within full understanding that you suck, and then taking that suckage and starting to chisel until you get to that little nougat in the middle where you're like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do at that hearing. That's the whole point of this thing. And man, you're getting there. You're a great storyteller, much faster than most people. So I got to hand it to you there. All right. So this is the way I would approach it. You're the type of guy who comes off as a normal guy. So that's something to consider. You're the type of guy who comes off as a good storyteller. You just got to go ahead and figure out how to present it a little bit more to the judge in a manner which the judge can digest it. The way I would start off with it is to put the judge's theory of who you are into question. They do that a lot in big blockbuster films. So you could start off with, Your Honor, I want to have you understand something about me, and that I'm a good person. I'm an honest person. I'm a hardworking person, and you shouldn't question that. I have never yelled or screamed at a boss before. I've never gone after them. I've never been aggressive with them. I've never given them ultimatums. But then something happened, and I lost everything that I was used to. I used to be able to gauge what I should do in a situation. This is an example of how it didn't go well. I inhaled some fumes, right? I worked at a gas station. Who doesn't? I was then in the emergency room moments thereafter. There was some screaming involved at my boss. There were some phone calls. There were some ultimatums. I made some threats. And now, unfortunately, I'm aware of the problems that my brain creates. As you know, I have these issues, these impairments that we've spoken of. But I will tell you this. When it went into my lungs, I knew I was going to die. And I knew I was going to die because I could feel the life force in me leaving my body. And I knew in that moment that I had moments left. And it wasn't the cheesy thing where you'd imagine the beautiful white lights and the dark tunnel to it and all of that. It was the moment where I was starting to say to myself, if I don't get medical treatment within an immediate 10 minutes, I will be dead. It was similar to drowning. It was similar to having somebody pull a rope around my neck and running out of air. And I can still remember the taste of it in my mouth. Okay, so what was different between my version and your version?
My version was just a first-person view of what I perceived, and yours was a Picasso version of that.
Okay.
But it's more vivid. It painted a picture. It was a story. It created like almost like a video within the mind, listening to you, whereas mine is more like reading boring text on a piece of paper.
Yours was a story as it occurred. I mean, look, anybody can write that out. Mine was calling into question who you are. I told the judge, you better listen. Then I said to the judge, I'm a good person. Then I said to the judge, but then it all fell apart. Then I told the judge exactly what the whole story was about, because you could say it in a sentence, right? It doesn't take long. And then I put some flour on top, some sugar, I put some salt on top, and I baked a cake. And at the end, I made a story out of it that people wanted to hear about. But realistically, right in the middle, in one sentence, I told you exactly what happened. Okay, so you know now that what actually happened isn't the important part of the story. What was the important part of this whole thing?
Telling the story in a way that makes people want to be engaged and listen to it.
Okay, so you walk in, right? And it might be telephonic with COVID. But when somebody hears your voice, how have people defined or described you in the past?
Like at my job, like my character.
You could say your character, your charisma. How would they define you?
Well, I'm a very quiet person. I just kind of, because of my anxiety, I tend to keep to myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm very timid. So when I would come to work, I would, I wouldn't say, hey, what's up? Good morning to people. I would just make a beeline to the whatever the machine is that you clock in. I forgot the name. I just clock in and then go to my station to carry out my shifts. Because that's the whole reason I worked out there, is because I have that anxiety. It's translated into social anxiety as well, which is why I couldn't work in the store. So I was out by myself at the gas station, basically running that by myself. But I liked it because I was alone. So it was easier on my anxiety.
Okay. That was good. You told me an example of what you do to show that you are somebody that is a loner, doesn't interact with people, and usually finds a way to not have to do exactly what you're doing right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a planner to be able to not have to interact with people.
Yes, I try to avoid people as much as I can. I know that's not that's like impossible in daily living, but I do my best to shy away from people.
All right, I'm going to do a sales technique with you. All right, so I don't know if you have a pen, but I want to ask you this. I've done this before with people, but I think it's really relevant. I think people don't realize how much these judges are like humans, and you have to sell them on the idea of how you are disabled. That's why you're there, right? I mean, if they can read the record and find out what your impairments are. So your testimony is all about proving you are the disabled person you claim you are, right? So, okay. Let's imagine you have a piece of paper there, okay? And I'm in front of you, and I'm holding that piece of paper up to you, and I'm saying, okay, cool. I'm now giving you the piece of paper, and I'm saying, I'd like you to sell me this piece of paper. Can you sell me that piece of paper?
All right, my anxiety is really kicking in. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time. Relax. This is a tough question.
All right, Your Honor. I'm a very diligent and focused worker. I'm very disciplined in the sense that I don't stray from whatever I'm focused on. Usually when I come to work, I don't even interact with my fellow coworkers. I just immediately clock in, get to work, and focus on the task that needs to be done that day. Unfortunately, sometimes that does not go as planned. My anxiety disorder and my OCD causes me to stray from my focus repeatedly and constantly in a way that I can't complete my daily tasks or get things done that I need to get done. It's like a constant tug of war or fight that I have to fight every day to calm myself down and avoid a panic attack, from normal things from just touching money to inhaling gas fumes to even handling any kind of glass material. I have these phobias that cannot be controlled, that although are very irrational and make no sense, and I'm self-aware that they're irrational, I am unable to control myself. And unfortunately, on days like March 9th of 2019, that's when the beast really came out. And I had inhaled some of these gas fumes, which caused me to go into a manic psychosis state where I closed down the gas station I was working at against my manager's opinion and gave him an ultimatum that I felt that I needed immediate medical attention or I was going to die due to my panic attack about inhaling these gas fumes, where he was forced to send me off to the ER to get checked out. Because in that moment, I truly felt that my life was in danger and that if I did not seek immediate medical attention, I could quite possibly die from inhaling those gas fumes.
Okay, that's
and
better.
Unfortunately, this has resulted in severe impairment to be a reliable and predictable employee, because I have these sporadic and random panic attacks over things that most people would consider normal that I am unable to function or cope with.
That was much better. That was much better. Much, much better. But I still want you to sell me this piece of paper. Sell me the piece of paper.
I'm joking. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
Okay. All right. I'm not quite sure what to say further from what I said.
You used to sell gas, right?
Okay, yeah. Well. Yeah, but I didn't sell it. Like, I didn't advertise it to people. I guess I'm overthinking this. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing fine.
I think I'm joking here. Yeah, I think I'm joking here. I think I need to mentally prepare myself, because I don't think I was ready to do this.
Okay.
I thought I was.
I'm going to go ahead.
I might need a second try.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give you my version. So you're standing in front of me right now. You are reaching out with a piece of paper. You give me the piece of paper. I look at it, and you say to me, Walter, I want you to sell me this piece of paper. I look at the piece of paper. I see it's a classic lined white piece of paper. Nothing special about it. There's not even, something on the outside of it. But on the inside of it, I can see something. Good sir, I'm holding this piece of paper, and this piece of paper, it has the decision of your disability benefits on it. It tells me exactly what's going on with them. Tells me what you've been waiting for. How much are you willing to pay me for this piece of paper?
Everything I have.
Okay.
So whatever the price.
Okay. So I know, right, that you are a ready and willing to pay audience member who wants to go ahead and win benefits, right? We know that.
Yes.
The judge like that, I have Shadow over my shoulder trying to get me to give him a treat. The judge like that wants you to sell to them why you are disabled. And that's Shadow in the background grumbling because he wants kisses. Okay. Hi. So, good sir, I'm handing you the piece of paper. Okay? I want you to sell that piece of paper to me. You don't have to right now. You can work on it later and things like that. But I want you to think about what the person standing in front of you wants. In this case, you got to tell them something. What do they want to hear? And that is crucial. Now, let me give an example. I always saw these people doing, what's it called? It's that stuff where you just come up with, it's acting, but you come up with stuff on the spot, right? It's where you're basically, improv, right? So you're improving. People who are great at improv are great at creating witty, cool, just out of nowhere comments that still make sense based upon what's going on, because the audience is what they're trying to go ahead and give information to, and they're gauging what the audience wants. And because they know what the audience wants, they're able to go ahead and sell it to them. So you, good sir, are very close and very good at potentially figuring out how to sell to this judge what you want the judge to essentially do. And the judge wants you to give them a story and a description that's in line with essentially something unique that they haven't heard already today 5 times. All right, so I want to ask you, from all of this, what did you learn?
So I think the biggest thing I learned is I not only need to tell a story, but I need to craft that story in a way where it can emotionally connect to the audience or who I'm speaking to. I've learned that it's not necessarily about what happened, but it's about explaining it in a way that the audience can feel an emotional connection or empathetic connection to what it is that you're experiencing. I hope that's correct, I think.
Who's your audience?
The audience is the judge and the, I'm going to mispronounce it, I think, vocal rehabilitation expert, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm
vocational
not sure.
expert. Vocational expert. What does the judge want?
So the judge wants I want to say proof, but I know that's probably the wrong answer. The judge wants, because he has a proof in front of him, he has my records.
Yeah.
What he wants is a unique story that stands out from the 10 other people that talk about having panic attacks. He wants something that is unique, that he's going to remember when he leaves that office that night. He's going to think about, like, that person really, is really struggling with this severely. They have a very unique situation going on with them. Something that stands out.
What do you want?
I would like benefits if possible, and I guess that's the obvious answer. You know what? Let me go deep with that, actually. What I really want is to be normal. What I really want is to be a normal person, because it's something that I've fought tooth and nail my entire life. Ever since I was a kid, I've been dealing with severe mental issues. I've been hospitalized. I've been on cocktails of medications. And, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
This is good.
What I really want.
You're now starting to sell me on it. Now I'm starting to believe you. Now I understand that you are a human being that wants something in all of this. Now, all right. You notice how you said you're going to go deep here? You're resetting the table. You're essentially creating an atmosphere that is not the usual line of information that the judge will receive. That's good. What I'd like you to work on is all right, so what's your favorite movie out there?
I think it's obvious by the name. I'm going to go with Batman.
Okay, cool. So which Batman?
The one.
I'm judging you, by the way.
The one where Heath Ledger plays the Joker. I don't want.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool, awesome. All right, good. All right, so we're the middle Batman. All right. All right, so
Yes.
very good. Those are probably, in my opinion, the best Batmans that were ever made. I agree. That movie was true cinema as opposed to just being a film, and I can definitely appreciate that. Now, with that said, what was the difference between you playing the part of you and Heath Ledger, and this is a higher level thinking process, playing the part of Joker?
Okay, so I think I see where you're going with this. So with Heath Ledger and the Joker, he embodied that character to the point where you forgot you're watching Heath Ledger and you truly thought you were watching the Joker. And with my story, I'm acting out, or I don't know if acting is the right word, but explaining my medical records, but I'm not living it the way Heath Ledger would. Heath Ledger would be in character to the point where you forget you're being told about medical records and this mental disorders, but you feel like you're watching a cinema, you're watching a movie play out. You know, you're being told a story of, you know, a person's suffering and their struggle and their attempt to return to normal.
Why did Heath Ledger, in the form of the Joker, have scars on his cheeks? You don't know, right? That's the beautiful part of that.
I feel like this is I feel like this is a trick question because there's a few different answers to that. It's okay. All right. I'm trying to think how to answer that. Okay, so all right, so some people will say it's because the Joker, you know, because he's so depressed. That's the only way he can put on a smile. Literally cut one onto his face. But then there's also the answer that, you know, that was done to him by another person, and so that answer is irrelevant. There's technicalities that go into that. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I'm not sure how you were phrasing that question.
But do you know? Do you know why he has those on his face? I mean, do you definitively know?
No.
No, we don't.
No.
Because in the movie, over and over, the Joker would present a story about his impairment, reshaping it every time in a beautiful silhouette of what went wrong in his life, right? The father, drunk as usual, would come forward and almost as the orchestra play that heavy tune on him. They'd beat him, and one day, why are you so serious? Because he would cut his cheeks, right? And then you have the story about his significant other trying to cheer her up. In all of these, he was essentially a victim of his own self-worth, right? Because in one, he was trying to use what he was to improve his significant other, make that other person happy. Another one, right? That's another one was he was trying to, you know, essentially be protective in his family, trying to, you know, keep everything going. And then his father does what he does, a horrific thing, right? It's this self-worth questioning. But in all of that, right, did we know the medical documentation as to what kind of impairments he had? Did we at any point know what they were? Did we know his top 5 impairments? We knew psychopath, right? They told us that. But
well, I mean, by observation, yes. By him flat out telling us no. But yeah, I see where you're going. Like by simply observing him, you could tell like he's psychopathic, he's crazy.
Okay.
He's, you know, non-empathetic.
Okay.
I think that's where you're going with this. I believe.
Okay. All right. So I want you to think about that, because what I'm trying to describe, and I've got Sweetie and Shadow over here kind of taking down all of my working lights. But the bottom line is this. You got to understand, he told a bunch of stories. We didn't know anything about his impairments at all. But yet the only thing we remember from that movie is him. He was the most important aspect of everything because he was unique. We didn't know what he was going to do. We didn't know why he was doing it. And he even told us that he wouldn't know what to do. He was like a dog, a rabid dog, right? Running around, just doing terrible things.
Know what to do if he actually caught a car. Yeah.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But can you honestly tell me Why, when it comes to him, he was so memorable?
Because I would say the Joker's, or Heath Ledger's Joker's, the most memorable Joker among all the people who have played Joker, is because he embodied that character and lived it to the point where you truly felt you were watching somebody's decay and the horror of madness unfold before your eyes. And you weren't just watching a video or a movie, but you were watching a story of somebody's descent into madness unfold before you. Right.
Did you believe that he truly didn't know what he was doing when he said that, you know, if he caught somebody, he would know what to do with it? Did you believe in that moment when he said that was true?
Yes.
Did you just bluntly know later after watching the film again that that was a horrific lie?
I'm not sure.
And
I'm not
that's
sure.
Yeah, that's a brilliant actor.
Part of me says maybe he's crazy enough that like he really wouldn't know what to do. You know, it's like that level of madness.
What did he put in the man's chest?
In the man's chest. It's a bomb, right? It's been a few years since I've seen the movie.
It was a cell phone, right? And the cell phone reacting was a bomb and yada yada. Yeah, okay. Would a man who had no intention of having a plan go through all of that?
No, that's definitely that's coordinated or planned.
Okay.
Or premeditated.
So if he had a premeditated, coordinated attack plan, and he told you that he didn't have a plan, what was his genius there to get you to go along with believing that he was not capable of doing and being a masterminded person?
By playing a fool to fool a fool, for lack of better words.
Okay. Would a man with no plan put two people in two separate buildings, creating a chance for one to be saved and one not to be saved?
No, that's definitely planned.
Okay.
It's like strategic.
So you now know that the Joker throughout the entire movie lied to you about who he was, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you realize that before, or are you just kind of coming to that now?
I've realized that now.
Heath Ledger's that good, right? He's that good. I know.
Yeah.
It took me a while after. I think I watched it the third time, and I sat back and I thought, man, what's going on here? This guy it doesn't make sense. You know, he's got all this amazing, you know, movement. He's got this guy doing this and this guy doing that. And all of a sudden this plan is coming together. And what's going on? He's got Batman after him. He's got the police after him. He's got the feds after him. He's got everybody online chitter-chattering on Twitter about him. He's got everything going on. But yet this man who has no plan is able to completely beat everybody.
It's amazing.
You ever watch 007? Those films?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I love James Bond.
Okay. Did you ever watch the film where they go to an island and the island was evacuated and the guy was there with his computers and was showing Bond how he could change stock markets and do all this stuff?
I can't recall, but I can definitely envision what you're talking about.
Here's what happens with all these movies over and over again. Here's the whole thing over and over again. They make you believe that the person is not capable of doing something, right? Star Wars, they fall into a big hole, right? What happens to, you know, Darth Sidious? What happens to Vader? What happens to all these guys? They fall into a big hole, right? And we're like, they're gone forever. They're gone forever, right? They lose their hands. They'll never be good again. They can never. They make us believe. They make us understand that this person has lost something, right? Because we get it. They don't have it anymore. They were whole, and now they have less. And that lessness makes us feel bad for that person. It also makes us think that this person could never become what they were to do great things like they could. And that's what they did with Joker, because Joker, oh man, I mean, Joker, he lit money, piles of money on fire. But
Yeah, he did.
right? I mean, how could he? You know, why was he doing that? The thing you have to realize is that, you know, and I know you know that money was essentially to show them that he had no direct interest. Yeah, but could he have pulled off everything without money?
No. I mean,
How do you get the
no,
weapons?
I would say.
How do you get the transportation? How did he get the crew? Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. You watch the third movie in the film. Who's the evil character in the third movie?
Is that the one with Bane?
Correct.
Right.
Bane had an entire society of people living underground, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's got this entire society of people living underground. Well, what? Doesn't that cost money?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't think about that until now, but yeah.
Okay. So all these Star Wars, right? One of the films, right? So they're I think it was the middle of the last three, right? For the first time, they talk about economics in Star Wars, where they're talking about, hey, you know, this ship is smaller and lighter, but it's running out of fuel, and if we have more fuel than them, then we can wait until they have not enough fuel and we can overtake them. Or there's somebody in the film, you know, they go to this magical planet and they steal a ship, and the ship has essentially the owner's information on it, and they look at all the things that the owner was selling, and the owner was selling warships to both the dark side, the Empire, and also the Republic, the light side. What's important to this is, through all of it, they tell a story that shows an individual that does not have the capacity to do something, and then they come back and do it, and it's amazing, and everybody loves it. Can you tell me what in your life most people feel that you would not be able to do, that you could really wow them with in a story?
I mean, okay. Most people don't think that I can be self-sufficient or be independent. For example, like I rely on my family a lot, just for basic things, like even you know, cooking. Like my mom, you know, has to make dinners and stuff because of my OCD is so severe that if I try to cook food, I'll be stuck in a cycle of washing my hands for like 2 hours, you know. So it's just easier this way. But I guess if I were to do the opposite, then it would you know, it would have that effect. You know, wow, you know, you're able to do this thing and not be OCD about it. You know, because I have not been able to do that for a large amount of my adult life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right, good, sir. Final thing. What did you learn from all this?
I learned that I need to work on my storytelling, to tell it in a way that is not only believable but relatable to the audience, that they can, without question, understand my limitations or disabilities and how it impacts my daily living. And I believe that's it. I'm probably giving up that answer here, but my anxiety is really kicking in, so I'm overthinking this probably.
All right, you did very well, good sir. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off and then go ahead and walk through some of the basic things, but I'll catch you a little bit later, good sir, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed night.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I wish you a blessed night as well, sir.
Thank you, good sir. I'll catch you later. Oh, and that's my dogs. Excellent. Bye-bye. All righty, guys. So my dogs have just destroyed the entire thing. So they turned off the lights before, and now they've destroyed the entire background. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. I literally have no power going to this computer because they somehow... I don't know how they did it. They destroyed the entire thing. Either way, I will catch you guys a little bit later. Have a wonderful night. I hope you enjoyed today's session. And if you have any questions, by all means, shoot me an email, give me a call. We'll go from there. Also, please remember to help me be competitive against the other big box firms. Not asking for things, but what would help me are 5-star reviews. Avo, Better Business Bureau, Google. All right. I'll catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Bye-bye.